we're talking about something that can either strengthen your marriage or cause distance between a husband and wife. And that thing is
Go ahead.
yeah, that's good. Allowing outside voices into your marriage, right? So your family, your friends, mom and them, everybody got an opinion on how you should run your marriage. They're in your marriage. Sometimes you let them in. And so we're going to talk about how that looks and how that can potentially affect how your marriage is.
So today's topic is keeping other people and family out your marriage.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about your spouse is your primary relationship in your marriage. Don't invite unnecessary options in our marriage or opinions. Set healthy family boundaries and choose wise counsel carefully when available. Wise counsel is not your single best friend or single male friend or your single female friend, because they're probably not going to give you good advice.
Yes. And so we'll cover 4 topics. And so the first one is your spouse is your primary relationship, right? So this is my buddy, this is my pal, this is my best friend. There's no other one above thee except God. And so this is where my loyalties lie, right? And so when you get married, your spouse becomes the most important earthly person or relationship to you. And so, I mean, it's scripture, right? And so that's what Genesis 2:24 said. You know, when a man leaves his family, he cleaves to his wife. You know, that's my version. Look it up if you want the real version. But that's essentially what it means. And so again, it's biblical here. And so it doesn't matter if it's your mama, your daddy, your siblings, even your twin siblings if you have a twin. Your friends, they're a valuable relationship to you, but they're not your primary relationship. Your primary is your spouse. And so when you marry your spouse, you become a entire new family unit. You were raised by your parents or your grandparents or whoever you were raised by, and that was your family unit. But when you get married, you spin up a whole nother unit. So this is you guys' opportunity to create a family dynamics that you all decide together.
Yep.
And so the last thing is the decisions that make in your family unit should be between you and your spouse, right? And so, you know, it's okay to, which we'll talk about later, to get advice from other people on certain situations. But at the end of the day, the decision should be you and your husband. So, you know, don't go to your husband and be like, well, mama said we should do this, and mama said you should do that, or daddy said you should cut the hedges this way. We love you, daddy, but you know, the way that my husband cuts it is the way it's going to be. So anything from you, husband?
I mean, some examples are, I mean, if your family or your best friend knows about something before your husband does, probably not a good idea there. So we want to make sure that you're talking to your sibling, you're talking to your spouse first, especially with any issues, right? And then, you know, if you have a friend, or I mean, because they're valuable, right? Family is very valuable. Friends are valuable, and they're there to be sounding boards sometimes in some situations, but they certainly shouldn't know this issue before your spouse does.
Yeah. So the takeaway here is to always protect the bond between you and your spouse. Don't let those outside voices influence you.
Yep. So number 2, this is one of my favorites. Don't invite unnecessary opinions in your marriage. So not every disagreement needs an audience.
Yeah.
And we find today, especially with social media, that people need validation on their decisions or how they feel. So they post their whole thing. I mean, they have whole groups to chat about disagreements. That should be taken care of in house, right? And share everything with every frustration or with family or friends. Shouldn't do that. Because one negative story, you know, your family remembers the negative about your spouse or your friend. And so you're creating a bias already when you have a negative story about your spouse, and that should never happen. And as a spouse, it's easier for me to forget and move on later on. But your family and your friends, they're always going to remember that negative thing that they said about you said about your husband or about your wife, and they're always going to be on the defensive for you, of course, because they're your friends. It's not a mutual friend, or they're your family, so your family's going to take up for you. And then so that negative image that you implanted in them is always going to be in any conversation. So you want to make sure that you're careful when you are talking to your family or friends about your relationship after you talk to your wife. And hopefully we'll talk about, some people who should counsel sometimes.
Yeah, because then your husband won't be able to eat his potato salad in peace at the next family cookout because they're looking at him upside his head.
But pretty much.
Yeah.
So, James 1:19 says everyone should be quick to listen and slow to anger. So that's what that's one scripture that I hold on to and I pray about when I wake up, to make sure that I'm slow to anger in any situation, especially with my spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. And so number 3 is to set healthy family boundaries. And so even though you love your family so much,
dearly.
yes, so much,
so dearly,
you need to set those boundaries of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for your family unit, as well as what you're going to tell them and what you're not going to tell them. So again, boundaries are not rejected; they're protection. It's a protection of your unit. So you're not saying, hey, mom and dad, I'm rejecting your feedback or your relationship. No, I'm trying to protect this thing. Just like they built their unit that you were involved in. It's your turn. It's your turn to build that unit. And especially if you are in a blended family, because that's another special dynamic, because you have a lot more mom and them's trying to tell you how to live, how to raise those kids, what to do in your marriage. So especially in a blended family, you want to protect your boundaries as you try to navigate these new waters that you guys are in. And learn to say, even if they come to you with advice, just say, hey, let me get back to you. Let me discuss it with my spouse. Let me see what they say. And then especially around when you have holidays. So again, blended families is a big thing, because previously you probably had rituals, you probably had customs, you probably had traditions. That's the word I was trying to get to. Traditions that you were doing previously. And so now that you're in a new family unit, especially again in the blended family, you still need to create a tradition for holidays. And so sometimes you have to tell your family, I understand that previously I was at your house for Christmas or Thanksgiving, but now I have a new family. So now I need to go to their side, or maybe I'm going to do it at home. So, change is good, but just do it lovingly.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially if, you have to create those boundaries and let people know that, this is my number one, right? No matter what. There were several occasions where I had to say, whoa, you forget this is my wife, with my family or with friends, to remind them that this is my number one. And so, at the end of the day, I got to go home and sleep with this one and wake up to this one. I ain't got to wake up to you. So sometimes you just got to set the boundaries. And I think that's a great sentiment there.
Yep. And so again, for scripture, Mark 3:25 says, if a house is divided against itself, it cannot stand.
A house divided, y'all. So, and the final one, seek wise counsel.
Yeah.
And when I mean, like I said at the very beginning, when I mean wise counsel, I'm talking about, if you have to go get a counseling outside the marriage, or even with your spouse, maybe your pastor, or another mature couple.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to champion your marriage. Someone that's going to say, hey, well, let's talk about it and whatnot. Let's see how we can, there may be a solution, or maybe you're missing something. Not somebody who's going to feed into your ego, not somebody who's going to, or someone or whatever it may be, that's going to feed into your feelings.
Yeah.
But be able to sit there and have a foundational conversation about marriage, and not be negative, not feed the fire, but extinguish the fire. So that's very important when I say let's seek wise counsel, because you'll have those people that, especially your single friends sometimes, they don't want to see you succeed in your marriage. They want to see it fail because they want you out at the club with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Misery loves company.
Yeah, they want you to be, more available for them. So it's very important that you are careful in seeking counseling in those situations. Yeah. Proverbs 15:22 says, "Plan." I'm reading the show, and it's far away. 15:22 says, "Plan fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed."
You like my glasses, honey?
Ooh, that's got blurry. No, I could get it off the rip.
Okay.
But
I thought you had 20/20 vision. That's what you always tell me.
Well, I just got up from a nap, remember?
So
I got that little fuzzy in my eye. Okay.
We gotta go.
Anyways, that was Proverbs 15 and 22. Y'all give me an opinion on what she just said. No, I'm just playing. We're going to talk about this after I hit this button and we go offline.
We're going to table that.
So the takeaway is, get counsel from people who want to see your marriage succeed in the end.
Yeah. So I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I hope this helps for those that are struggling with trying to have sensitive conversations with their families that can be intrusive at times. Believe me, I know how that is. And so I hope this all helps you out. And so again, if you have any comments, please place them at the bottom. And then one thing that we want to ask you this week is to think about if there is someone in your life that is giving you feedback in your marriage, right? If that person is helping or harming your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Or influencing in a very negative way.
Yeah.
Just to go back to number 4, wise counsel. Preferably not someone who's been married 4 or 5 times either. You're probably not going to get the best counsel from them either because, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, and 5, they were probably the problem. So just wanted to give you that tidbit and that nugget for this evening.
Oh, they need love too.
All right. So I'll let you close out with the pushing and the liking.
So
and the
don't
following.
forget to like and subscribe on all our socials. Join our Lovebird community. We have some exciting things coming up, so we want you to be the first to get in on it. And that's all that I have.
All right.